Oh, love of man, we are live, and we are live. Let's see. I hope everybody out there is doing good and great and amazing and all of that good stuff. Oh man, life be life, right? Like for real, man. Oh, life be out here, life, man. Let's see. Let's see. I'm trying to get this little thing together here. Let's see. Turn it on, off. Let's see. Oh, it'll get there. So yeah, man. Yeah, I hope everybody out there is doing I hope you guys are doing good, And yeah, one thought was like, man, you know what? All of the cool people that I know, like all the cool people that I know that I met through like, social media, they stay like, I don't know, these people stay like so far away. For me, it'd be so cool if they stayed a little closer, like for real. That would be cool, but since they do stay a little further away, that just means that, it just means that I can go and travel and I can go and see these amazing people. I'm trying to see something. This thing is not. It's just, let's see. Yeah, but one major thing out here is that people are going to start to see some signs and wonders. People are going to see some some believable and not so believable things out here. Like a lot of folks are just gonna be like, "Wow, wait a minute, it's my mind playing tricks on me?" Of course, your mind isn't playing tricks on you. And welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is Soul of a Man. This is your first time. If this is your first time watching, today we're just doing talks with a spiritual consultant because that is what I do, Lizzie. Well, that's one of the things that I do. I do spiritual consulting, and Um, I've been doing it for a few years now, and where I get to help people all over the world, to make it all make sense and the sense of it, like seriously. Yeah, I don't know what thing is that. Hmm. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, man, just to make it all make sense, So yeah, and I think that's like a major part of it. We are all I think that's the major part of it. We're all down here just really and truly trying to make it all make sense or trying to get a grip on it. And, we are trying to figure it out. And if you haven't figured out, great, man, cool. That means that, whatever you're doing, hey, keep doing it, seriously. But, there are people out there on on this wild journey, um, if whatever you want to call it, spiritual or whatever, and a lot of people need help. And I have, um, I have an amazing assortment of gifts that I have used, not only to help myself, but to really and truly to help other people out there. And I've done this on different platforms, and I've done it on like different platforms and all of that. all of that good stuff. And I think the important thing for you, and and for myself, is to show up, because you really and truly have to show up for yourself. Like I've hey, what's going on, ma'am? How are you? Like like I've had different people with let's say spiritual gifts tell me certain things, and it feels exciting, it sounds exciting, but the thing about that is that you still have to live, your day-to-day life. That's the thing. You really and truly you really and truly, you have to live your day-to-day life. A spiritual consultant, almost in a sense like a business consultant, someone who helps you to come in and to give you like an expertise of spiritual help. That could be helping you with your spiritual gifts, things that you may be going through on your spiritual awakening. And don't forget to give me the thumbs up, folks, and don't forget to subscribe. So it's a plethora of things. I would ask you, if you had a spiritual consultant, in your life, and if you're going through a spiritual journey, what would you need help with, or what would you want help with? And that's the that's the interesting thing. So the amazing thing is that so many people are going through what you would want to call like an awakening. I mean, like, probably it's probably in the millions at this at this point, and thanks to social media and the internet, it has more validity to it. If there was no social media, no internet, and people were if people were going around, and if they were saying like, oh, I'm seeing things, I'm hearing things, you would people will put them in a certain context. You know what I mean? Like, really and truly, people will really and truly put them. I agree. And that somebody said that religion and science can be both keys to truth. It's true. Some people believe in magic. Some people say that, I've often heard that, people say magic is a science we don't understand. I've heard that on TV shows, cartoons. I've heard people say that, so it's really and truly all about that introspective. It's really and truly all about that, all about that deep dive that you go down, or that you choose to go down, or or otherwise. You actually don't really need it's not just religion within itself. A lot of religion is just really a lot of historical context that you would absorb into your life. So it's like it's just like taking certain aspects of it. If you're in Christianity, or if you walk down the Muslim faith, or if you're a Buddhist, or if you're Hindu, or whatever you may subscribe, whatever you may not subscribe to, your religion could be science. Seriously, some people just say, well, I want to look at it from a scientific perspective. It's really, it's really and truly, like, it's really naturally, really and truly, at this point, what you believe in. I like the idea of community and religion provides, but I don't see what else there is. Yeah, and one thing I've learned about religion is that there's that glass ceiling, and once you get there, it's up to you to continue the journey, to go out, to do the research, and to continue to learn, to to continue to learn and to continue to grow. I think that's why a lot of people have these kind of dogmatic, like introspectives, where they, they're always arguing. It's like, some people are like, oh. Some, and thank y'all so much for hanging out. So, some people are like, hey, I believe in this. Some people are like, hey, you know what, I believe in that. And that's it's these are things that are put there that are meant to influence our lives. Like within my culture, a lot of things people, especially like within the church, there are, like, let's just say, ancestral aspects and different things other than Christianity and all of that that's around it. But it's more in a it's more in a spiritual perspective. When you get into the power, that's where they were like, oh well, that only Jesus was meant to walk on water, do miracles. But the Bible said, well, Jesus said in the Bible that you're going to do greater things than me. Some, just kind of paraphrasing in the sense of it. And I think that's why a lot of people, and in other words, but I don't want to just kind of like dogpile on Christianity and all of that stuff like that, because I believe in God, and I believe it's for me. I believe it's more in a one-on-one relationship. That you have to have and that you need to have, and and there's a lot of, really and truly, there's a lot of different introspectives and intricacies within that you can that you can learn, and and so on and so forth. So maybe it's just the thing. It just doesn't have any power. I don't know. Let's see. I was just trying to get this thing to work. Yeah, it's. I don't think it has power. Yeah, I think that's it. And I thought I charged this thing. It's good. But yeah, man, that's that, and that's what it is. And I think it's like having having an open mindset. Some people, I see people online, battling it out. They bring the male versus female perspective into spirituality, and they're like, divine feminine versus divine masculine, and this one is greater. And I don't get into all of that stuff. That's not my lane. I'm like, look, power is power. You need to grab it, jump on that horse, and you need to ride that baby. You need to, you really and truly need to, like, take that power from within and take it to like new levels. Um, that the prophets, our ancestors, all of that. You need to go, like, the sky is just the limit. We are just down here. We are legitimately just down here, like, cracking these codes. Like all of the spiritual gifts and everything that I've been given. I want to take them. I want to take them to the next levels and beyond. That's what I don't. And that's what I think. I feel that some people, um, I just feel like some people are maybe they're just a little afraid of their gifts. Maybe they're just afraid of their abilities and the things that they're like, oh, I don't, because they just don't know. And it's like, lean not, so it always, lean not to thine own understanding, and to thine own self be true. Seriously. And it's and I get it. It can, when you look at when you look at power, like, when you were a kid, they will tell you, don't stick your tongue into the electric socket. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, seriously, it's just some things you know not to do. But it's like, with these innate gifts that, it's like, with these gifts that we are given, you're supposed to use them for your benefit. Seriously, you're supposed to use them to to uplift your life, to upgrade yourself, and all of that stuff. And a lot of people out there are doing it masterfully, and you're um you wonder how, like, all of these people are becoming, a lot of people say, like, well, hey, did you come from money? And they'll say, like, well, no, no, my family was broke and blah 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 blah. And I'm telling you, if you look a little deeper, within their stories, I bet you there's some kind of a spiritual aspect to that, something that they did, you know like, seriously, there's a lot of power out here. There's a lot of power out here, good, bad, or indifferent. You may see people who become famous at a young age, and Hollywood has their own significant power and all of that stuff like that. And people go out there and make their deals, and so on and so forth. But now we know a whole lot more about that stuff. It's like there's that one side, and then there's the other side. you know so all I'm saying is that that power, the power that you have. Um it's like, when people get married, they say, by the power invested in me, I now pronounce you. So it's like the power that you have within yourself. You're pronouncing it, like people say, like people might say, speaking things into existence, so to speak. Um like using your gifts, using your gifts in that, using your gifts in that way. Just being able to, and doing it confidently. I would say. But then, the interesting thing is that you where it says you only need it was the faith of the mustard seed. That's very small. That is very, very, very small, as far as the true power. Imagine if you were putting 50% in, or you know like, I don't know, 80, 90%. Imagine the things that you could do, or like, you could have. Like, I've seen, even within my life, I've seen the things that I've manifested. And it's cool. But for me, I still have to, there's levels to it. So I have to continue to push. I gotta, for me, I have to continue to level up. And I think I did a video earlier about, like, the power of prayer, or something like that. But it's it's almost like, when you hear, like, no weapon formed against me can prosper. I've also heard, like, the weapon can be formed. So it's like, your faith, your prayer, how you manifest. So you're forming, you're transcending, you're shaping. That's, a lot of people, they get it. They say, oh, cool, I can feel it. And then something comes in your mind, and it vanishes. So want to get to that point where, what you're manifesting, what you're praying about. It's that sharp, where you can just, like, where you can instantly, like, cut through air. It's that sharp. Some people have that. Some people have that ability. Hey, how are you? Some people have that. Some people have that ability in their minds, where they create stuff, good, bad, or indifferent. Like, if you think about something, it's like, oh, that's weird, man. I was just, if you're thinking about, you're walking into the office, and you're thinking about donuts or food, and they have breakfast sitting there for you. Like, man, that's weird. I was just sitting there thinking about breakfast, and here it is. So you have, like, this, you have this full spread. Let me see something. So yeah, so you have, like, this full spread, like, I'm still here, folks. I'm trying to do something. But you have like that full spread sitting there, for you. And that's that's the amazing thing about it. Mm, trying to see if I could get this thing together here. Is that fitting? No, no. That's it. So, the important thing is to one of the important things is to like shift your mindset. The only, and a lot of times, you have to practice it. You do. You really and truly have to practice. Everything is not going to be for you within that. Like if you look at all of this stuff, whatever, like the ATRs, like with Arisha and Loa, all those Loa may not be for you. All those Arisha may not be for you. You may just work with certain ones, like hoodoo, all of that stuff like that. Dealing with herbs and all that stuff. It's just certain herbs you may gravitate towards. You may not use all of that. I don't use all of that stuff. I don't. I'm gonna be honest with you. I may get a little bit more into it as I've as I've grown. And sometimes I've learned that I'm gonna just be open with y'all. I've seen where when you're leveling up, a lot of these deities, entities, whatever you want to call them, powers, they start coming to you, and you have that choice. You have the choice within you. It's like with always, I follow Bobby Hemmett, masterful teacher. But he says that we have the ability to choose. We have the ability to transcend, and then that's where it is. That's where we are right now. We're we're at a point of we're at a point of we're at a point of choosing and dexterity. And how are you gonna look at the times that we're living in? It's a lot of craziness, but whatever. But within that, there's a lot of there's a lot of power out here up for grabs. You can make it up in your mind today to be like, you know what, I'm gonna be in solidarity with my with my ancestors. You can start with there, and from there that starts an evolution and a revolution within your life. You know, because your your ancestors spiritually can do things that you couldn't even possibly imagine. Seriously, like they are um and when you're dealing with your ancestors, I'm telling you, there's levels to all of this stuff. You're gonna you're going to, and your ancestors come in the hundreds of millions. Like the Rock would say, the million. So it's like you and just it's I it's how for how how people they say that thing, how bad do you want it, like that. You know that song by Jodeci, they say, how do you want it, how does it feel? So like when you look at it like that, you're pushing beyond, like when you were um when you were a kid, anything was possible. Like anything was possible. Like really and truly, you felt like, maybe you felt like that at a point. Anything is possible. I don't know your life. Something happened. You had choices. If you were like me, it was like, okay, military or college, and there was nothing else in between. Like this is it. So I get to choose from. Yeah, because a lot of our people, they don't really have, like, they don't have money like that. Sad to say that. So we have to be the ones to, like, to really break through that ceiling, and that's the next level of the evolution. Where, the power of the almighty dollar, which a lot of people worship, which that's why there's so much. That's why there's so much power and money and stuff and all of that stuff like that. But smoke and mirrors. But anyway, but yeah. So that's in the here and now. Where we are where we are consequentially or inconsequentially breaking through these ceilings so that we can get, so that we can be, well, one healthy, physically, mentally, and, we have like, we have all of this knowledge. We do. We have all of this knowledge that we can pour into the pot, however you do it, you know, um, and of course there are some when you look at spirituality, there are pantheons above pantheons. There are pantheons that have been forgotten, with time. There were probably, what was it? I forgot the name of that man, I forgot the name of that place. But I don't know, anywhere. But there have been so many pantheons like over time, and it's like oh, when you look at like when you look at human existence, it's said like, I don't know what, some people say what, hundreds of thousands of years. Some people say millions, and it's all in what you want to believe in. But if you look at that time frame, I mean, like, each of those pantheons had their time to like kind of come to power, or whatever civilization they were with. They faded away. Some people probably still deal with them, maybe kind of like in secret, and all of that stuff like that. So the Greeks, the Romans, the Aztecs, the Mayans, and all the Egyptians, or Kemet, or some people still follow that. They follow these Kemetic principles, Mayat. I've looked and I've studied all of that stuff. Seriously, I've had my runs with all of that stuff. I really and truly have. So, but it's a for you, it's, for you, and you can, it's all in what you truly, it's all in really and truly what some people are devoted to their astrology, their astrological signs, and they're devout with that stuff. How people are devout with their devout Catholics and with the saints and all of that different stuff like that. People are devout. They're devout with all of that stuff, and they follow the, what is it, the whatever principles. How many principles is it? Like 42, something like that. And yeah, they follow those principles, and that's life to them. That's, just like, yeah, that's just like in Egypt, the Nile, it flowed and it brought life to, it brought, once upon a time, it brought life to Egypt, and all of that good stuff. But it's it's really on it's all in, on your journey. It's all in where you want to get off, where you want to get off on the bus. If you want to get off early in the stage and just be like, well, I'm just gonna, I'm good here. I'm just chill with my ancestors. I'm gonna see where this goes. And so on and so forth. But so many different aspects of ancestry. When you start digging and you start looking at your DNA and your genetics, and you start to have these dreams, and you start to see these people walking around you in real time, and all of that, and all of that stuff. Shit, like I'm talking about, I'm getting a chill now. So I know that they're always here, even though, like, I may not. I know that they're always here. They're always around me. Even though sometimes we feel like we're like, we're like we're solid matter. Yeah, so we may feel like hey, I'm solid matter. So like, but we can feel their presence. You can see them, and stuff gets real emotional, and and all of that stuff like that. But that's why you see people pouring pouring stuff on the side, ancestral veneration, and so ancestor veneration, and so on and so forth. But one thing I'll say is that for you, one thing I'll say, like, for you, for your journey, they say don't forget to look up. Don't forget to look up to the sky, to the stars. They're saying that there are things within your lineage, within your generation, that people are missing, like with the stars, and especially like those. Though I need to look that up. Something about constellations. Yeah, something about, I'm gonna put stuff around. Something about, like, how the pyramids. The hell is this? Yeah. Anyway, so something about the access. Yeah, it's something about the access of the pyramids, and how they're, I don't know, how they're positioned on their, how they're, like, positioned on the earth, and I don't know, the access or something. But they're saying look to the stars. Right, and that's and that's the and that's the beautiful thing about this. It's like I'll be the first to tell you, I'm a lifetime student. I don't, I may be like that older person walking around the college campus with a bunch of kids, and you know I may be like on my doctoral level, whatever, but I'm still learning. And that's the beautiful thing about it. Like, nobody, we can, like, I see people come on here and talk about manifestation, and you know all, and and all kind of stuff. So, like I said, it's really and truly all in what you want to get into. It's really and truly what captures your attention. If you want to sit down and read the Bible, read scripture, be filled, with the Holy Spirit, the Holy Ghost. You want to deal with, like, you want to deal with your angel guides, and stuff like that. You want to uh you want to follow the path of Yahshua, Jesus. That's like, that's cool. That's a higher path. That's a higher calling. You want to fulfill the destinies of your ancestors. It's like a action adventure role playing game. Not saying like game in a sense. You know what I'm saying? It's real life, but again, it's really it's in your choice. It's in your choice, and it's in your choice, and then what you it's in your choice and what you want to do. That's why people always say, hey, you use your discernment, and you use your discernment in this, so you're not out here getting scammed, and all of this stuff. And so it's really they say it's really nothing new under the sun. We're in the time now of, like, really and truly rediscovery, but it's like everything feels like it's up for grabs. Like, we can go way, 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 way back, like to the time of Adam and Eve, and grab, like, if we want to, like, if you willing to go deep enough, like, you may say, like, man, I want my life to look like it was when Adam and Eve was here, and we truly had dominion over the earth. Like, see, like, I want my life to look like that. I want to feel, I want to feel God's presence, God's grace. Like it was just, like I can just like I breathe, just like you breathe, like seriously like that. But it's all in, it's all in that. It's all in your perception. It's all in that. Some people might say, "Oh man, that's I don't know, that sounds impossible." You know what I mean? But it's like, but you have to be, um, you have to you have to have that warrior's mentality. I know you're probably like, man, I'm tired. I'm tired of being strong. Well, you're gonna get stronger. You're gonna get stronger. It's going to become more effortless the more you stop fighting with it, and the more, yeah, the more, the more the more you stop fighting with it, because that's what it is. You're gaining. Because that's what it is. You're gaining more. You're gaining more. You're gaining a. You're entitled to this. You are really, you're entitled to this. This is your title. You're the. Let me see if I can write this down so y'all can understand. Hmm. So it's like this. Let me see if I can. I don't know. If I can. See, like you're the. I don't know. You're the champ. It's like you're the champ. You are. Yeah. You're the champ. And thank you for coming. Don't forget to subscribe. So you're the champ. You wear you wear that belt with pride. You walk that walk. You talk this talk. You're on this journey, whatever season of tears that have trailed you, the headaches, that I'm t- if that it's been persistent, but that stuff is over. That stuff is that stuff is over. You know, so you know who you are a child of. You know who you are. You know whose you are, and where you're going next is going to confuse people. Hey, what's going on? What's going on, Miss Dempsey Queen? So where you're going next is where you're going to next is going to really and truly where it's going to confuse people, because it's going to feel like it happened overnight. A lot of it's going to catch you by surprise. You never thought like, you never thought like that person or that gift that you have could be used in a way like that. It's like you're gonna. It's almost like the principle of, it's almost like, hey, they say grandest rising to you. It's almost like the principle of, it's almost like the principle of least resistance. It's like knowing without knowing. It's almost like you're going to be blessed, like even like in your sleep. Your you're about to do the unimaginable. Your principle for this. You're going to feel like a principal. You're going to feel like in charge. You're going to be like, not just a principal, but like, almost like that superintendent level. Where you never thought, you never thought that it could get that, like that. I don't know what the word. I don't know the word that I'm looking for. And a lot of us have been on these journeys for years. I'm telling you. Um, but yeah, a lot of us have been on these journeys for years, man. Years, and we have cried. People have left out of our lives. People have called us all kind of names, and We have been, let go from, all of this stuff. But here we are. We still command. We still conquer because that's that warrior principle. That's that. Hold on, I'm trying to hit the thing. That's that. That's that warrior. That's that Ashanti. That's that war. That's that Zulu. That's that Amazon. That's that Israelite. That's that call. That's that calling of the dawn. You get up, you hear those trumpets blowing. So that presence of the Lord of God is where your the bloodline of your ancestors is within you. So like you're here for a reason. You woke up today probably, I don't know, different mindset. Right. I believe, yeah, your curses become your blessing. So, and you're gonna bless a lot of people, because there's the word, it's like the word franchise is around you. Either starting your own or making some kind of investment, and it is going to blow up. I'm like, for real. They were like, "Oh man, you took like $10,000, and now you're worth, like the hundreds of millions." Seriously. So it's only going to, it's only for you. Yeah, right. It's also the course of action. It's the things that it's the things that you're doing behind the scenes. It's the maturing. It's the stuff that it's not what people see. It's what it's the behind the scenes stuff. It's the preparation. It's the fact that, and if this is your first time watching yours truly, don't forget to subscribe. But it's the preparation. When the food is being cooked, and like when my grandmother, my mother, they cooked, and my dad, you could like walk in wherever you were in the house. You're outside down the street. You could smell the aroma. You know, like true, it's about your destiny. You can smell. You can like they say if you smell what the rock is cooked. You smell and it's like those cartoons where you see the little smoke in the hand, and it kind of you're floating in the air. You know what I'm saying? And it just guides you because you're hungry. Because you're hungry for more. You're hungry for more, and that's what it is, and you're entitled to walk with your head up high. You're entitled to walk and feel good. You know that you have that full armor on, and that you could have the most powerful weapons in the world. Some weapons can't protect you from everything. I was thinking about this the other day. I'm not gonna go too deep into that, but so it's like it's like your life. You've already made the decision. So what getting into the mindset of what is to come is inevitable. Well, like what is to um it's like what is will be, and what wasn't will be no more. you know so it's like you're coming into you're just coming into you're coming into your fulfillment. You're really and truly you're very much so coming into your fulfillment. That's what that is. And that's what I mean, I get what did it look like. um just a lot of new, like whatever it is that you wanted, new house, new car, new love of your life, your kids doing better in school, everybody healthy and happy. It's like in in like the biggest, it's almost like what happened like in Egypt with the Israelites and with the children of the Most High. You know, when those plagues came and when the death angel came and it said, you have to take, what was it, the was it the blood of the lamb or something, and put it on your door, something like that. And it's almost like that, but you have that blood around you and within you, so when everybody else it feels like the world is really falling apart, you're continuing to be elevated because you need to be elevated because, again, what a time like this to be alive, like really and truly, so um you're about to do some amazing. Yeah, well, you're not just do well, you're doing, but you're about to be elevated to a new stratosphere, like really and truly, like what you've done already. That's that's it's almost like you're going from like miniature golfing, so you're going to play the whole 18 holes, like you're ready for that now. You're ready for the pro tour. So, and you're going to go and you're going to dominate. That's if I could put that if I could put that in a way, in a sense, if I could put that in a way, in a sense that that you could understand. It's like you're moving now to elevation. You're moving now to like like just a new stratosphere, a new profession. Well, different levels to profession, because there are different things that there are different things that are going to be brought to you, and you're going to be like in investing. Just like people say, oh cool, I want to hire you, come on, I'll come. So you're going to be you're going to be investing and invested. Hey, what's going on, coach? So you're going to be invested and investing in like more like these powerful things. Yeah, and there it is, and welcome, and please subscribe. And that's what it is, So um, your I'll just say this: your voice is needed now. Your calling, your voice is needed now. Let me just say, your voice is needed now. Your calling is needed now. Not oh, it's cool. I think because I'm on this, yeah, but your voice is needed now. Your calling is needed now. So you're like, man, you I don't know if you were just one like, when is this going to happen in my life? When is that going to? You know how we get. I don't. We listen. I'm ready to get paid too. Like seriously, I'm ready to move away from the jobs and the not, so we can, but that's coming very soon. That's coming. So it's like we're flipping the pages, and we're flipping the pages in the book, like, how people say, okay, it started here, and now, I'm writing in this, I'm flying in there, I'm talking to this person, being interviewed, but it's, I don't know, it's like I see the elevation, I see the I see the Good Morning America. I see somebody in Australia. I see somebody in Australia on like some kind of massive book tour. I see somebody speaking on this big conference thing, whatever that is. So that's what it looks like. You're the headliner. Just to let you know. So it's like you're the you're the headline. So whatever it is, uh, and a lot of people probably a lot of people behind the scenes, a lot of people they just a lot of people behind the scenes, they probably, they don't know, they probably, because you probably in that season where you've gotten very quiet. Oh cool. Well, Hey, shout out to South Africa. I want to come visit South Africa so bad. I've got work to do there. But anyway, man, I just feel like there are people that got the opportunities before you, but I don't know. They made it about them. You're not. You don't do that. Where because a lot of people, they're gonna try to get you to do that. They're gonna like, hey, what you always give God the glory and blah blah blah, and but what about you though? And you like, yeah, I mean, yeah, I've weathered the storm, but this thing is bigger than me. Don't that's where the disconnect from them to you, because you get it, you understand. You may not understand it all, but you get that part. Like you get the part of you get the supernatural, you get the divine, you get the eloquence of the you know the this the supernatural effects around you, like the power of the tongue, how you can command your legions of angels, that are around you. You got a flock. You got a very, you got a lot of power. You really and truly. Thank you for that on the screen. Thank y'all for. Whew, I think I was gonna come on here and just be yapping away. But anyway, yeah, thank y'all so much for coming on here and hanging out with me. What is this, Thursday? We're so ready for the weekend. But you're going forth to change generations, and that's what that is. The part is, why you might have thought like, oh man, why was I left out? Why wasn't I invited? Why didn't I get that? It's why didn't they choose me? Why did I have to go to the foster care system? Man, that sucked. You know what I mean? And it's because again, your principal. Your new outfit, new hairstyle, new you. You're just letting today you're under new management. You are under you are supremely under new management. You think that for you there are no little prayers, there are no little manifestations. Your stuff. you know j- just you showing up, being present, changes the lives of people on a daily basis. You have no idea. Like, you cannot fathom. It's like one day you're going to be able to look in a mirror. One day you're going to look one day you're going to look in a mirror and understand who you truly are. Like, really and truly who you truly are. So strangers are gonna be running up to you on the street and just say, "Hey, can you just take a moment? I heard your name, and I saw you on the thing, and I see it on I see you. It's like it's like um yeah, like that the the scripture says, if you don't praise him, then the rocks shall cry out. People are gonna be seeing you and crying out, because it's like they're gonna be, just because they see that devotedness, they see the faithfulness, they see that devotion, they see that devotion, in and around you, on a daily basis, and just you stopping to pray for them starts a chain reaction where you immediately, like, change their life. So this is somebody who's like, oh, I was homeless, I was on drugs. This person prayed for me, and I was delivered, and then they go out and do great and extraordinary things. Oh, of course, yeah, definitely. Well, yeah, thank you so much for thank you so much for and please tell other people about the channel, as we continue to grow and all that good stuff. So, but yeah, I just, get that thing of, lift that. What's it? Lift. Yeah, there's just power in the name. There's power in the glory, forever and ever. Amen. So, yeah, we are gonna leave it right there, folks. So good. Yeah, well, we're gonna be moving forward and doing some exciting things and all of that good stuff. But again, it is, it is that power that is invested in you to go forth. And oh, cool. Yeah, these are times where we these are times where you're going to be very much so what is the word? I'm trying to think. Oh, well, thank you. Well, you're going to be very much so surprised. Like this is going to be a summer of surprises. Like, yeah, and well, I mean, over here in the states, but wherever you are, over these next few weeks, over these next few weeks and months, there's going to be a lot of elevation. There's just going to be, um, it's just going to be a lot of elevation, man. Like really and truly. Yeah, as you're, this thing is doing crazy stuff. Yes, as your gift should be getting stronger. Right, as your gift should be good. You want to call them the fruits of the spirit, or however you want to look at that. As your gift should be getting stronger. You should be you should be elevating, and you should be elevated, and all of that good stuff. Like that song, the Jeffersons. We finally got a piece of the pie. Well, you about to get the whole pie, and then some. So you're getting back. What is that like with the cankerworm ate? And you're about to dress in the finest. You're going to hang around the best. You're going to but your principle. I don't know, the word keeps coming up. But your principle. Your principle for this. You're built for this. You're made. You're made for this. So it's so you're going to be set apart. It's like you're going to be set apart from the rest. That's just what that is. But all right, y'all, let me get off of here. Running my mouth. But all right, folks, y'all, like, thank y'all for hanging out with me today. Y'all have an amazing day. Probably come back on here a little later on tonight. Um but yeah, y'all, wherever y'all, be safe, stay prayed up, and I will holler at you.